What's going on, man? Live from Raiders headquarters. How cool is this? We'll center it up. We're going to have a guest or two today. So, yeah, I like this. Raider Dom, how do we sound? We good to go? Yes, we are. NBA contract, man, leaving out TNT, man, that is hard to deal with. Wow. All right, let's get started here. We're going to have Thayer Munford on at 1 o'clock, which will be nice. That probably won't be on video because the Raiders are going to video it, and that's it.
He's coming in here?
Yeah.
At 1? Okay.
Levi 12:45 and Thayer at 1.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. You know what's a good site now? Forbes Sports. Forbes magazine, the money magazine, their sports is pretty good. Salute. All right, man. What do you guys want to talk about today? You know what I'd like if you're here for the Raiders, and I want other people other than the Raiders, but if you're here for the Raiders, I got Thayer Munford, the right tackle, the starting right tackle in studio today. If you got a question or two for him, let me know. Yeah, Giancarlo Stanton hit a bomb yesterday. The problem is they're few and far between, but I get it. How are we doing, Bobby? Okay. Man, this studio is insane, man. I don't know of a radio host. I get to do Monday at Win, which is spectacular. And I get to do a couple of shows, and we're going to have an announcement with this show from this studio at some point after the summer. It's great to be in such a professional and a great environment. Yep. Out of the gate, JT live from Raiders headquarters. How cool is that? As we are streaming live on YouTube at JT the Brick YT, and I am live in the building here on a hot, hot day here in Henderson at Raiders headquarters. And we're excited to be here for the next 2 hours. Whenever I walk into this headquarters, I'm honored. I'm proud to be here, and you should be proud that you're inside the Raider building, either watching me live on YouTube or listening on the flagship of the Silver and Black. And you should want to get in here because several of my colleagues listen to the show while it's going on. So if you're a caller, if you're a listener, if you want to get in via Twitter, any of our platforms, jump on in as we are ready to roll. And I am ready to roll today because when I come into this building, I bring my A game. I always bring my A game, but I bring it when I come into this building, and there's a lot going on. So we have Thayer Munford, the right tackle of the Silver and Black, confirmed. He's going to join us at the top of the hour. Thayer Munford will join us at the top of the hour. Now, I'm looking forward to this interview because I was at the Raiders golf tournament with him a couple of weeks ago, and we had a nice conversation about his role. And I want to have that similar conversation here on the show today. And it's not going to be an easy conversation because, as I said, we're going to have a lot of fun talking to him. But I've always believed that they got to bring in some other right tackles. They have to have some depth at that position. But it's being made clear that Thayer Munford is winning that job at right tackle, which I like. I think he's a great guy. You're going to get a chance to hear from him. And we're going to have a conversation on the pressure to win that job and to go up against Max Crosby every day. I think that's a big deal, and I think that's pressure every day. And one thing I will say about Thayer Munford, and this is just Captain Obvious stuff, when you practice against Max Crosby every day, you're guaranteed to get better. Like Alex Leatherwood could not handle that. That was unfortunate. I wanted Alex Leatherwood to do well. He was here to be a perennial all-pro right tackle. That's why they drafted him high. They drafted him too high. It was a bad draft pick, and we wish him well. But Thayer Munford came in as a 7th-round pick out of a big-time program, the Ohio State, and he played a lot of big-time college football, and he's played a lot of big-time NFL football. He's got a lot of snaps, and he gets to work out and practice with Max Crosby one-on-one. I don't care who you are, you're going to get better. And there's going to be days where you're going to get beat. And there's going to be days where you're going to get beat bad. But maybe there's days I'm going to ask him, what's it like? One of the questions that I prepared, what is it like on the days where you are able to win against Max Crosby on certain plays? What type of adrenaline does that give him? He'll join us at 1 p.m. And then we're also going to have Levi Edwards from our digital team. He's going to join us coming up, which I'm excited about here because he's going to everything. He's everywhere. So he's going to tell me what's been happening at the OTAs. And then at 1:20, a very important interview for me. As you know, I'm going to MC the Southern Nevada Sports Hall of Fame. I get a chance to do that now. It's a high honor. So we get all the inductees into the class before anybody. We get the interviews. Jesse Leeds will join us. He's a mentor of mine, works at the same company. He retired from Lotus Broadcasting. He's like a king guy of sales and programming, and he's got a great history. He's a fun guy, and he's getting into the Southern Nevada Sports Hall of Fame along with Tony Panici, one of my high-ranking mentors of my radio career especially. So we're going to have a conversation with him and then wrap it up. And then I'm on a plane to Chicago for Mike Ditka and Gridiron Greats. I'll be in Chicago on Thursday and Friday. Harry Ruiz, the Spanish voice of the Silver and Black, will be in for me. And then Monday, when we come back, which is going to be a lot of fun, it's Media Day. So I'll be back in the building for Media Day, and we're going to start streaming very early in the morning in a really relaxed atmosphere as all these guys are getting their headshots and their pictures, and they're in uniform, makeup artists there. They're diving through, making simulated catches. That'll be all the videos you see on the jumbo boards and all the media that you see when their name comes up during a game. So that's going to happen. And Eric Allen and myself, along with a band of others, will give you that live stream and programming coming here from Raiders headquarters. So there's a lot to do. There's a lot to do here over the next couple of days. I'm excited to get to Chicago. I'd like to go to this event, and it's been going back and forth between Chicago and Vegas. This year it goes back to Chicago. I'll MC it along with Brian Urlacher, the Hall of Famer, the Gold Jacket. And we're going to induct Mike Singletary, Vince Papalier, and then they made that great Eagles movie about him. Steve Largent. When I think of greatest receivers of all time, Fred Biletnikoff and Steve Largent are tied together. Just saw Steve at Freddie's golf tournament. And then on the rundown, I wanted to share this story with you. I got the run a show, as they call it. I was looking at it last night and kind of piecing it together on my iPad. And in the middle of the event I'm doing on Friday night in Chicago, they have the Marv Levy Award. And last year we gave it to Ron Rivera. And Ron Rivera has a great career, military background, the 85 Chicago Bears. He was recently the coach of the Washington Commanders. So Marv Levy is going to present the award. I'm going to bring him on stage. Marv Levy's 98 years old. Not 88. My dad just turned 86. 98 years old. I'm going to be able to spend a night with him, which I'm really pumped up about. All right, here's what I want to talk about today. Yesterday, I said that I felt like it was the beginning of the quarterback battle within this organization between Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew. I really do. I think the media treated it that way, and they did a fine job. You had Gardner Minshew go first and then Aiden O'Connell. And the media that was in attendance out at the podium basically were asking questions. How do you feel about competition? What do you got to do to win the job? So it started. Okay, if this was a NASCAR race or the Indy 500 or whatever race it is, an auto race, they dropped the flag. The flag was dropped yesterday. So now I can talk about it a little bit more. But what's unique for me as the host of this show, I'm not giving my opinion. And you might say, what do you mean you're not giving your opinion? I give you plenty of opinions. I go 28 minutes every day with a monologue without a breath. I give you plenty of opinions in 28 minutes where you're not saying, oh, my God, the guy I'm listening to, he doesn't have enough opinions. You tell me who's got more opinions than I do. I got opinions, but I know not to jump in the pool first. Okay, I'm not the guy to jump in the pool first. The idiot at the party is going to go, I'll go first. No, I'm not going to give you my opinion on Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew until I see him practice. Until I see him have a bad practice and how they recover. Until I see them play in the preseason, where I hope they both play. I'll be calling the games on radio again this year, excited for the preseason. And then after that, I'll have an opinion, end of August. And during that whole time, we'll have on guests who will have opinions on who should be the starter. As of today, it's Aiden O'Connell. He'll get the first snap, whatever that means. Does that mean he gets the first snap at practice? The first snap of the preseason? I don't know what that means. But let's assume Aiden O'Connell is the proverbial starter and Gardner Minshew has to track him down. Now, here's the good news for both the quarterbacks. It doesn't take much to track the other guy down. We're not talking about Rodgers and Mahomes here. Okay, we're not talking about Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert, but we could be down the road. Gardner Minshew sets up perfectly in the Rich Gannon mold to be a guy who was more than a journeyman. Remember, he started significant games in Indianapolis, Jacksonville, and Philadelphia, mostly due to the fact that the other quarterbacks were injured, but he was a starter. And he's won games, Gardner Minshew. And there's plenty of film on him, making every possible throw that you can bleep and make, which is important to me because sometimes I have people criticize quarterbacks and I go, how do you think they're in the NFL? They're a quarterback. How do you think they got in the NFL? Because they can make every throw. Now, some quarterbacks make better deep throws. Others make better touch throws. For Gardner Minshew, I think that Gardner Minshew is better, not superior, but better outside the pocket, moving his legs and throwing on the run or running than Aiden O'Connell. I think we'd all agree with that. But I've been seeing some B-roll film, and it's just OTAs of Aiden O'Connell sprinting out of the pocket and throwing a beautiful ball. And obviously it's something he's working on. He's working on that, and he's only going to improve. I think Aiden O'Connell is better than Gardner Minshew in a cleaner pocket. That means you have full protection. You have tight ends staying in. You have a power extra offensive lineman. You keep your running back into block. I think that Aiden O'Connell will probably be better to step up in the pocket and throw a better deep ball. Do we all agree with that? I think we all agree with that. So now it's a combination of what Luke Getsy has to do to put these quarterbacks through stressful tests. Okay, they got to be stressful tests because we open up against the Harbaugh brothers, because the league screwed us again, because they gave us some hokey, wacky opening schedule where we want you to open up and fly to LA and then go to Baltimore and play the two brothers who are game planning and scheming you on FaceTime every night. That's what they gave us the first two games. So the quarterbacks need to be put under a stress test. They need to be put under fire in practice. They need to be yelled at. They need to be poked. They need to be prodded. They need to run. They need to do a good job. And they need to let these defensive players come at them but not hit them and really blitz them in. And let's see who can play better. But it happened yesterday. So yesterday, I thought the media did a nice job. We have some of that sound coming up. And I think if you look at the quarterback, I think it's pretty much dead even. If you want to have fun with it and clip this and put it on some Raider Rogue website, I think that Aiden O'Connell today has a 51-49 advantage. All right? That's pretty lame. That's basically me saying I don't have an opinion until I watch them play, and they play in practice games and scrimmage games. And some people don't want the preseason. Are you nuts? The Las Vegas Raiders are the poster team for the preseason. We got two quarterbacks who are pretty much the same. All right, they're pretty much not in the elite factor, and the NFL isn't even looking at them anywhere in the above average factor. They're not. I had a conversation with someone in the building when I walked in today about the fact that the NFL, unless they're doing a story on Devontae or Max Crosby, they're not coming out here to kick the door down at all to talk about the Raider quarterbacks. Bucky Brooks wrote a column at NFL.com giving Aiden O'Connell the advantage, and you can read Bucky's column at NFL.com, and he did a nice breakdown, which I'm going to get to here in the monologue, brought to you by PTs. They fuel the monologue. 5 to 7, midnight to 2, the best happy hour in town. Head on out to any PT, Sierra Gold, Sean Patrick's. You'll have a great job. I like the SG bar at the top of Flamingo. It's less than a $3 Uber for me to get there from my house, and it's a great place to enjoy happy hour, have great lunch, and a good place to have your fantasy football draft, which is coming up sooner than later. All right, and then the last thing, I like to throw out the phone number to hear if anybody has the energy that I have. It's just nice to know people are listening, and they might want to talk about what I'm talking about, 702-365-9200 if you want to get in, because I don't want to do it every day, but today's a decent day if you want to say yesterday, if you agree with me that yesterday they put the flag down and they said this is the start of the quarterback battle. I agree with that. That's why I led with that. If you'd like to chime in today when we don't have guests on who you think has the lead today, I'd like to hear from you. 702-365-9200. I think that Gardner Minshew is trailing Aiden O'Connell by just this much. And if you're following on YouTube, you're in this multi-million-dollar studio and you see my fingers together. Just this much, Aiden O'Connell will have the lead over him, but that could change anytime, any day. I hope both these quarterbacks stay healthy and they're ready to go. All right, the other thing I want to tease this. Had a meeting yesterday for our summertime programming over at Grimaldi's. Yes, brought some Grimaldi gift cards. Went to the Grimaldi's on Eastern. Man, and you people who live out on this side of town and have to deal with Eastern, man, woo! It's just inside stuff. If you're in the Bay Area, you don't know. But if you live in Vegas, raise your hand and beep your horn. If you ever got off the 215 and had to climb Eastern, man, I don't know how you do it. I couldn't do it every day, man. I couldn't make a U-turn, man. I couldn't make a right out of a parking lot. Eastern is jammed up. That place is jammed up. But a great time yesterday at Grimaldi's. And we're starting to put together here the top 10 Raider games of all time. Now, here's the breaking news, and this will debut. I looked at our schedule here, and we're trying to get with Bobby. It's more about Bobby and myself, but it would look like we're going to debut the greatest Raiders team of all time beginning on July 8th. So that would be the Monday after the 4th of July. So we're going to debut the greatest Raider victories, wins of all time, greatest games. So what I discussed with you over the last couple of days and weeks was maybe we throw in a game that they didn't win. We shut that down. I said, well, maybe you throw in the tuck rule because it was just a monster game. Everyone talks about it. Or the immaculate reception. Maybe we include that. And we said, no, this is about winning. This is about commitment to excellence. This is about the Raiders' greatest games of all time. So there'll be no losers, no Rob Lytle fumble. Okay, there's going to be no Raiders got to the Super Bowl and beat by Gruden in Tampa Bay. That won't make our list. That even won't make the honorable mentions. But man, the games outside the top 10, and there's a whole bunch of them that we talked about yesterday. I mean, the snow game in Denver where the Raiders were 4-0 and then they lost 4 in a row. Rod Woodson, the Ronald Curry catch. I mean, there were some big games. The AFC Championship victory for Lincoln Kennedy and Rich Gannon that took and propelled the Raiders to the Super Bowl. The Heidi game, which had a massive significance on television in the history of football as they cut off a Raider game in one of the greatest comebacks of all time to put the Heidi game on television. And it was a great game and it meant something and it changed television and it's a recognized Raider game. Obviously, the Sea of Hands. Where do you put the Holy Roller? Where where Stabler tossed the ball on the ground in San Diego, Casper kicked it forward and fell on it in the end zone? I don't know where you put it. That's why I'm going to need your help here, and that's what we're going to be talking about. And then some of the other games, Al Davis's first win as a head coach, general manager in the top 10 games in Raider history. Antonio Pierce, that's a franchise record for most points in a game, 63. That's definitely on the list. I just don't know where to put it. And then as I brought up yesterday in our meeting, the greatest win in the history of the Las Vegas Raiders was the last game of the year, with the Chargers, the Steelers, and the Raiders all alive. The Raiders don't tie the game. They go for the win and win the game, and it eliminates the Chargers and the Steelers get in. That's without a doubt. You know, the Raiders have had some pretty big wins here in this building. They had the 63-pointer. They had the win that got the Raiders to the playoff game, eliminated the Chargers. They had the Carol Davis game, I call Mrs. Davis, the first ever game where the Raiders opened up the stadium and won with no fans. Remember the no fans game? And beating Drew Brees, and then the first game against Lamar Jackson in the building that the Raiders won. Raiders have won some big games here. The problem is they haven't won enough to go to the playoffs year after year and win a playoff game. But the Raiders have had some nice wins here at home. And then a lot of people will blank and moan and say, well, look at how many Niner fans came and Steeler fans came. Yeah, can't argue that. I'm not here to argue that. I'm not the ticket police. But we've won some good games here in this building, some big ones. But the bigger ones are going to be playoff games. And then where do you put some of these other great wins in the history of the Raiders? The 1967 championship team, without a doubt, will be there. Maybe one of the greatest teams of all time. And then the most difficult thing that I talked about yesterday, how do you rank the 4 championships in what order? 1967, 11 Angry Men, the team that won the AFL, lost Super Bowl II to Lombardi Packers, but that was a championship team. Champions of the AFL, and then Super Bowl 11, 15, and 18. And as we debated that's kind of what's going to make the show this summer, the top 10 games of all time. How do you rate the Super Bowl victories? What was the most important Super Bowl victory? Was it Super Bowl 11 or 18? Which team was thought of as being a better team? Super Bowl 18, 15, or 11? It's a good debate. You might have your favorite team because you were a fan in that era. But that's a topic that I really want to get into because the Raiders have played in a lot of games where there are names. The Heidi game, the Holy Roller, Ghost to the Post. Oh, I can't forget Ghost to the Post. All these games. So we're going to rank them. We're going to have a few honorable mentions, and then we're going to go from 10 to number 1. We're going to have prizes. We're going to have giveaways. We're going to get involved with that on a big level. So that's where we're going today. 702-365-9200. But as I'm in the building today, you could be the first to jump in and just talk about who you think has the edge. Not going to win it. We're not making this conclusive. But this is the show that we're doing today on June 5th, 2024. Who has the lead in your mind? You're the listener. You get to interact at the quarterback position. Who do you give the clubhouse lead to right now, knowing that they got to go out there and play another 18? Who do you think's got the edge? Maybe there's one you're pulling for. I don't know. Maybe there's a guy you're pulling for. I mean, it's hard not to like Gardner Minshew, man, when he gives those press conferences. Yeah, man, I went to the Dead at the Sphere, man. That was cool, man. And then Gardner Minshew's just, he's one of those guys who's going to give you a lot of one-liners. He is. And then Aiden O'Connell's pretty young and conservative, married guy. He's a good guy. And I think he'll go back and forth with reporters when they're having fun. But this is Max's town, everybody. This is the home of Mad Max Crosby. This organization is based now. He is the face of the organization, with all due respect to Devontae, because Devontae has more national contracts, Taco Bell, some of his other deals here too. And I really like Devontae a lot, as you know. I think Devontae should touch the ball most of the time. So there's plenty of faces of the franchise here. You got Devontae and you got Max, but most teams have a quarterback. And then we'll get to Christian McCaffrey on the other side. You take the market from 12 million to 19 million via the running back pay scale. That's pretty impressive. I mean, he didn't move the market. He reset the market on steroids. So any running back now, if you're in college, you better learn how to catch the ball. Because if you can just run the ball, there's plenty of those guys out there. But if you can do what Christian McCaffrey can do and catch the ball and then take off and score touchdowns, you maybe might have a chance to make 19 million. Because if not, you're not going to make over 12. You're not going to make over 10. And Christian McCaffrey set that market. Also, I want to get to the NBA contract. It looks like the NBA contract will leave TNT. The Wall Street Journal reports that the deals are nearly done between the NBA and a trio of broadcast partners, ESPN, NBC, and Amazon, will take over the NBA broadcast rights with a total of $76 billion over 11 years. $76 billion for the NBA over 11 years. I'm going to go on record on YouTube Live and say that's a bad business deal. I'm going to just say that right now. That's a bad deal. That's too much money. I don't think the product is as great as everybody thinks. I like the NBA. But what will happen here is it looks like TNT will be out. That will cut out Warner Brothers Discovery, leaving TNT without the NBA. So then that opens up. What do you do with Barkley, Ernie? Because Barkley doesn't want to go to ESPN. Could there be something to do with Amazon there? I don't think there's going to be enough games for them to go on Amazon. And would those gentlemen want to go to NBC? Because the last I looked, if the NBA is going to go back to NBC, NBC is going to need some talent. I don't know who they're going to hire. But back in the day when we were watching it, the great Bill Walton, Bob Costas, and there was a guy by the name of Marv Albert. Marv Albert, for time to time, was the best NBA play-by-play voice, period. He was the voice of the Knicks, and now it's Mike Breen, who's also the voice of the Knicks. It's amazing my Knicks can't win anything, but they have the best broadcasters ever in the NBA or close to it. So that's a huge shift in money that's happening here. And the Wall Street Journal reported that this could be the beginning, this NBA deal, of the NFL wanting their packages to expire so the NFL could go get more money. Let's stick with the NBA and the NFL. The amount of money that they're going to secure from Amazon, NBC Peacock, Fox, CBS is outlandish. I didn't even know they made that much money anymore. I mean, they got to actually be printing more money to pay for these deals. You got to print more money to pay for what the NBA is going to get. So that's where we're at. We're ready to go. 702-365-9200. I'm shut out right out of the gate. So I'm going to come back. I'm going to talk to some people who want to talk to me. I'm going to have Levi Edwards in studio. I got Thayer Munford. I got one of my mentors, Jesse Leeds, in here. And maybe we'll hear from you on the quarterback, because I don't want to know who's going to start, because it's a long way away. But who has the lead after the media yesterday? They were respectful. They were respectful, but they were peppering those two quarterbacks. They were peppering them both. Who's going to be the starter? How do you feel about starting? Because one's going to play and the other one's not going to play, unless there's an injury, and we don't talk about injuries on the show until they happen. JT live from Raiders headquarters. Man, it's good to be here on a hot, hot, hot day in deep Henderson on the flagship of the Silver and Black. Nice group in here today. Appreciate you. See what we got. Why are we talking about Brandon Marshall? What did I miss on that? Jamarcus Russell. Jamarcus Russell will not be making our top 10 list. Top 10 list is going to be hard, man. I sat down with a Raider legendary employee yesterday, and we struggled on this. So it's going to be a good radio content, we believe. Andrew, I want to keep one of these other mics that we're not using on so we can hear the audio. So the listeners can hear the audio because they can't hear the audio. So if I leave this one on and do this, which it streams through here, that'd be good. Because what happens is when I'm talking here, and I'm going to stop this when Thayer comes on. When I'm talking, the stream is picking up this.
Okay.
So when Levi's talking to me, okay,
Yeah.
they're going to be able to hear him through this.
Yeah.
That'll be good enough then. Then I
Yeah.
don't need it because I'm going to have someone on the phone later, so I don't need that. That'll be able to be picked up. I'm good.
Okay.
I'm just thinking out.
Yeah.
Thinking out
Maybe
loud.
just move it.
Yeah,
in
I'm
the
going
middle.
to move it in the middle. Yeah, that's perfect. That's why you're the pro. There we go. It's really quiet in here. It's like eerie quiet, man. It's like off-season quiet, man. So you'll be able to hear the guests that are live here, but not the calls. I'm not going to take too many calls today, so it won't probably interrupt the stream. Yeah. Yeah, what do you got? Mm-hmm. Good. Get a chance, Bobby. Play some John Mayer. I'm going to see him tonight. Yeah. He's doing his podcast at the studio I do it at. So, yeah. JT back with you from Raiders headquarters on the live stream. This is why you get the live stream. It takes you 10 seconds to subscribe for free. JT the Brick YT. That's YouTube, JT the Brick YT. You can call in at 702-365-9200. Malcolm Kuntz, taking it one day at a time and getting better. The difference to me with this team being a playoff team or not, is obviously the quarterback is huge. I'm not going to downplay that. But it's the ability of the defensive line with Tyree Wilson, Christian Wilkins, and especially Malcolm Kuntz to have great years. I'm not talking good years. I'm talking Max is a Pro Bowler. Christian Wilkins is a Pro Bowler, all pro. Right? Aaron Donald's retired. And then Malcolm Kuntz has 13 sacks and Tyree Wilson has 9. And then it changes everything. Then the league looks at the Raiders completely different. And the quarterback, again, they're going to look at the quarterback and say the quarterbacks are playing well, or they're above average, or they benched a quarterback for another quarterback. That's going to be the topic for the Raiders. But what happens if this defensive line changes everything? So wouldn't you expect after the way Kuntz played last year for him to be better this year? Right? He's playing for more money. He's going to want to get more money. He's starting to become an emerging player, not only on the Raiders, but around the league. And who's got more to prove than Tyree Wilson, who was drafted number 7 overall, is not a starter. I don't think he's a starter, but he could. They can move him next to Christian Wilkins inside, or he can be on the outside and he can outplay Kuntz or not. I don't know. But they got to find a way to keep him on the field. My ideal situation, and it's not going to happen because Kuntz is a down lineman. But can you imagine if Kuntz played, and he's not Lawrence Taylor either, so don't take this and clip it. Can you imagine if you had Tyree Wilson start out at right defensive end and behind him at outside linebacker was Malcolm Kuntz, who was coming off the edge in a blitz type of vibe the way Taylor did. And then you had Christian Wilkins demanding the double team over center. And then Max Crosby demanding the double team on every play. Then no matter who the quarterback is, no matter who that quarterback is, it changes the entire game. The quarterback has less time to make throws. The ball's turned over more. The Raiders go 3 and out more. And the Raiders get the opportunity to score more. That's the only thing I could see. I cannot predict anything on Zeus and how many yards he's going to run for, who's going to throw for 3,800 yards at quarterback. I don't know the answer to that. But I can suggest that this defensive line can flip a lot of games. Can flip a lot of games and change games that a lot of the press and a lot of the Vegas handicappers aren't thinking about. All right, let's get out to Isaac is in Fresno. Isaac, you're at Raiders headquarters. What's happening? Doing well, thanks. Well, we're worse off than Denver because people believe the garbage that's coming out of the propaganda machines of Sean Payton and Jim Harbaugh in Los Angeles. I mean, we know that Justin Herbert's a really good quarterback, but how dare anybody say that Bo Nix is better than Aiden O'Connell? How dare anyone say that Bo Nix, who hasn't thrown a pass, is better than Gardner Minshew? And people do it. Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, when you look back, thanks for the call. I appreciate it. If you wanted the Raiders, I want the Raiders to win this year, and clearly the future is very important. But I want them to win this year. It's been a long time, so I'm not talking. This show is never going to talk about 2 or 3 years from now. I don't have time to do that. But if the Raiders would have traded up to get Michael Penix or another quarterback who wasn't probably going to start coming out of camp, and they didn't get Christian Wilkins, and they weren't able to get Brock Bowers because they got Michael Penix, I don't think anybody would even think of the Raiders going to the playoffs. They wouldn't. They wouldn't have done that. If they were parking a quarterback of the future for the future, they'd be talking about the Raiders going to the playoffs in the future, but not this upcoming year. No. Now we have an opportunity to go to the playoffs because Minshew and Aiden O'Connell are both good quarterbacks. I'd like to say more, but I'm not. I'd like to say they're great. They're not great. I can't say they're elite. I can't say they're very good. I can't. The compliment I could give to Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew to their face, which is how I run my life and business, is you guys are pretty good. Okay, they're pretty good. The guys who are winning playoff games and Super Bowls are great. We got to get one of them to be great. And they're only going to have so much time to prove that because one's going to be on the bench. Now, are they both better than Jimmy G? As Pig76 writes in the chat on YouTube. But Jimmy G won 4 playoff games and played in the Super Bowl and won an NFC championship game and closed out the Packers in Green Bay in the snow. I thought Jimmy G was a pretty good player. He just couldn't stay healthy. I was hoping he'd stay healthy. And I was going to go on the radio in this building last year saying, when's Jimmy going to get hurt? I mean, Jimmy bought me a shot of Casamigos at the Golden Knights game. You think I'm going to go on the radio and say, when's Jimmy going to get hurt? The guy bought me a shot of tequila. I like Jimmy G. I wanted him to do well. Brian Hoyer didn't do much. That was a lot of money for Brian Hoyer that could have went elsewhere. Out of respect to Brian Hoyer, another good guy, that money could have been slotted elsewhere. And look, in the last couple of years, I'm sitting here in the building. There's no more Darren Waller or Hunter Renfrow. Hunter Renfrow hasn't been signed, and Darren Waller wants to be a rapper and might not play football again. I mean, when those stories get buttoned up at the end, when those stories get their I's dotted and T's crossed down the road, there has been a lot of wasted opportunity with draft picks in this building that must come to an end. There has been several players drafted at a super high level, from Henry Ruggs, Damon Arnett, Alex Leatherwood, Damon Arnett, and Henry Ruggs. Just those 3 have put the Raiders on the back end from an NFL media perspective. 3 picks that were very high that could have changed the face of the franchise were whiffs. Tom Telesco doesn't whiff. Okay, Tom Telesco might have a guy here or there that maybe doesn't get his next contract, but Tom Telesco's got a record of getting players early that stick around and get second contracts. We got to hope that happens here, especially with Brock Bowers. All right, Jesse Leeds will join us next hour. He's my friend. I hope you enjoyed that interview. He's going to join us at 1:20. He's getting the high honor of being inducted into the Southern Nevada Sports Hall of Fame, which is the biggest Hall of Fame for sports in the entire state. Obviously, it's in Las Vegas. It's a big deal, and there's a lot of people involved who are in it, from Floyd Mayweather to Dana White to iconic players who have played out here. Bryce, you look at the legends who have played in this town over the decades, the boxers, motocross, hockey, whatever it is. You got Hall of Famers here that live in Vegas, and this is the Hall of Fame of record, the Southern Nevada Sports Hall of Fame. We got 2 more inductees that we'll interview before a week from this upcoming Friday night as we get rolling there. I want to stay more on this NBA contract and what's going to happen. I like the Celtics to win. I think the Celtics are the better team in the NBA Finals. I've been fascinated about the rebirth of Kyrie Irving. There are some sports radio hosts that are talking WNBA every day. Look over my shoulder if you're watching. I mean, I can cross the alley, and go to the Aces World Headquarters, which is nicer than a lot of NBA headquarters. I'm dead serious. Mark Davis built a women's basketball facility for the Aces that's nicer than probably 20 or 22 of the NBA headquarters for their teams. In the NBA, not the WNBA. Right here, right next door to Raiders headquarters. So the Aces are going for a 3-peat, but the world is upside down on Angel Reese getting thrown out of a game last night. She should have got thrown out of a game. If I was a referee, if I, JT the Brick in the third person, was a referee, it could be at Summerlin South Little League. It could be at Coronado or Green Valley Little League or San Jose or Dublin Little League in the Bay Area. I would throw every parent and every kid out of the game if he looked at me disrespectfully. If I was an NBA referee or a WNBA referee, I would throw everybody out of the game if they talked back to me, if they kept rolling their eyes to me and they dropped profanity anywhere near me. You got that? I think it is time for referees and officials to be respected again. And no matter who it is, and I talk very highly of the ladies, as you know. I got my mom, my wife, my sisters. I talk very highly of women on and off the air. You know that. But if I was a ref, if you looked at me and you were chirping at me, I would throw you off, out of the game. It's out of control with Luka Doncic. It's out of control with these. Every time there's a strike on the outside corner, you got some guy looking at the ump. Where was that ump? What do you mean, where was that? I'm the ump. I'm the ump. I called it a ball or I called it a strike. It's incredible. The only sport that gets it right is soccer. You start looking at a ref, you get a yellow card. Ooh, what's that? Oh, a yellow card. You get 2 yellow cards, you're done. You don't play the next game. That's what we got to get back. We got to start controlling the athletes when they get out of control and they disrespect authority. You're allowed to comment. You can get comment and get fined in the postgame. You can say whatever you want to your coach in a huddle, in a timeout. You step on the court, step on the field, you respect the officials. And there's many women now who are officials, right? Side judges, line judges in football, referees in the WNBA, officials in the NBA. So Angel Reese got thrown out last night. I'd say the same thing about, no gender here. I'd say the same thing about the women and the men. Start respecting the officials. They have a hard job. And the players now are getting just too rogue on them. That's just one strong opinion you'll get on this show. 702-365-9200 as we continue on. The M Resort Spa and Casino right here, right next to Raiders headquarters. That's where the alumni stay. Over 200 Raider alumni, 200 coming to town this weekend for health and wellness. Who else does that in professional sports other than the Raiders? I'm dead serious. The Raiders love their alumni, and they show them that every day. All right. How cool is this? What do you think about my officials? Think I'm giving them too much love? We're going to get Levi in here coming up. All right, Bobby. So you like Costa Mesa? It's cool. We've got a lot of June gloom out there, a lot of clouds. It's nice. Mm-hmm. So my big thing for me personally is I'd like to be out there. I got to do Sunday, Monday from here every week for my other job. But we need Q to step up. We got to do some radio out there. Q's got to get some sponsors. We got to get it sold. We got to be out there. Because we're not going to be able to go out there unless we have radio. I'm sure we're going to have it. We need that. We need Lotus to get off the line and get something done. And quick with the speaker, they will not. They will not get anything done. Q will end up paying for it and going. Absolutely incredible. I just don't like, guys on the stream. I don't like people who just rip on the refs all the time. All right, we got about another 15 minutes on this live stream. Please click subscribe and like if you can. We would greatly appreciate that. Get a picture of the stream. Okay. So, Gardner Minshew, as he was asked yesterday, there's a lot of questions now. I say it was the official start of at least fans interacting on who's going to be the starting quarterback. JT, back with you. Brought to you by Tequila Commissario, the Ferrari of tequilas. I just had a soiree in my backyard. My wife made some amazing margaritas, and it was fantastic. And everybody said, "What was that? Where'd you get that tequila?" Tequila Commissario, sold all over Las Vegas, Southern California, in the region. We have Levi Edwards joins us from the digital team and also on our YouTube live stream. And Levi, I want to start with you because you're always there. You're always in front of the coaches. You're at the podium asking questions. I just felt like yesterday the media had an opportunity now was it the first time to get both quarterbacks back to back and ask them the real questions. How does it feel about competition, and how does it feel about potentially starting?
Well, it was very interesting just in the standpoint that what makes this quarterback competition so cool, I guess if you could say the word cool, is these are two very completely different quarterbacks. The way that they carry themselves, the way that they play, they're very meticulous about the way they do things, but they're very different. Gardner Minshew, he's the guy, he has the hair flowing, he's got the the beard going, mustache, all that. He's very free. He's a gunslinger. He's about his business like that. Aiden is more of a guy. Has a quiet confidence, a little more reserved, very accurate with the ball. So he's very mindful of reading his progressions, things of that nature. So just two very different quarterbacks in the way that they play. And you could also tell just by the way that they reacted, with the media, just how different they are, just in terms of the way they answer questions. But they both definitely seem like they have the same mindset of trying to win games, trying to win a competition. And competition isn't new to either of these guys.
Yeah.
They both had to go from being at the bottom of the depth chart in college to being at the bottom of the depth chart coming into the NFL, being thrown into the fire as rookies, being thrown into the fire because of injuries. So these are two guys that are very competitive, and this isn't their first rodeo.
Levi Edwards is our guest. So from a media perspective, what I see interesting here, for 9 years, Derek was never in that situation. Even when he started off 0-10, Derek was going to be the quarterback. He was the franchise quarterback, and camp after camp after camp, mostly in Napa. His first interviews were on, well, how do you feel about this young kid coming after your job? We don't have people in the building that remember that. It's been that long ago. Now you got two guys, and it's not going to get ugly, first off, because they are friends and they're gentlemen, and I think they're good. But if they don't separate themselves, I mean, what's the media going to do? Their only thing they can do is watch practices and go, oh, my God, you threw one off the fingertips of Devontae, but you hit Devontae perfect in stride. And then you're going to have the media dissecting practice. And as you know, most of the media doesn't get to see practice. They just get to see practice in a window. And then it's going to go on and on again where the quarterbacks are going to be asked, how'd you do today? Are you distinguished? Do you think you could be the starter? That's got to be coming.
Oh, yeah. No, it's literally that's exactly what we're going through right now. Because through OTA so far, neither one of these quarterbacks has done anything dramatically better than the other one. It's just they have different approaches to the game. But at the same time, the way that they performed has been pretty much the same. Neither one is the clear-cut guy right now. So, and I can't even say that that's going to be the case going into training camp, where you go through these practices and you try to see, oh, well, so-and-so is doing better than this. I don't know if that's going to be the case. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't really know if we'll get a clear-cut determining factor of which guy will be the starter until we get to the preseason, until we actually see him on the field, until we get some games with them with the starters against actual other defenses in the league. I think that's when we're actually going to be able to figure this out, because right now there's no clear-cut answer to this question.
Well, Levi Edwards is our guest from the digital team. What gets me on this, I've seen this so many times in my career, mostly with other teams. When it begins that way, it's going to have to end with the de facto great moment for one of these quarterbacks in a preseason game. It could be one big throw. It could be Gardner running around like Mahomes and throwing across his body and hitting Bowers for a touchdown in the first quarter of a game, or it could be Aiden stepping up and hitting Devontae on just a check at the line where the coaches go, that's our guy. I'm sensing it's going to come down to that, which is going to be really entertaining for Raider Nation, because Raider Nation loves content and they love the quarterback position.
No, they really do. And this is new ground for me, JT.
Yes, I know.
I've never covered a quarterback competition before. The whole time I've been here, like you said, Derek Carr was the guy for the however long he was here. And then you have Garoppolo come in, and he was the guy, and Aiden had some flashes throughout camp, but Garoppolo was the guy. This is the first year I've covered the Raiders where I genuinely don't know who the guy is. And that's fun. That's entertaining. Fans want to know, and it might not necessarily, we were going to have a competition no matter what, whether the Raiders drafted a quarterback or not, and it was a rookie and you have Gardner Aiden behind them. It was going to be competition no matter what. So it's really exciting and entertaining to really go through this process. And I think both of these guys, honestly, from what I've seen, are very capable.
Yeah, I think they're both good quarterbacks. One has to separate themselves. We'll wrap it up with Levi Edwards at headquarters. Finally, when I look at what this team could do and the position battles and all of that, it comes down now to the running game. They're getting disrespected also. I understand why NFL media, air quotes, aren't covering the Raiders the way they do, because they're not in love with the quarterbacks, but they're also not familiar with the running backs. I think half the people other than producers behind the scenes got to tell their host on the desk, oh, well, this is Zeus. This is Zamir White. Remember, he played at Georgia. You might have saw him play. And then you got Madison, who comes over from Minnesota. I think Zeus just sets up to be potentially great because of his size and his strength and moving the end of that pile an extra yard or two as a weightlifter, as a strong guy, lower body, arms, shoulders. I think, Levi, that's going to pay dividends for this team. On 3rd and 2, you don't want to put the ball in the air, have it knocked down at the line of scrimmage, have it deflected, someone drop it. When you got a beast like this, and how are they going to get him up to speed with making sure they don't give him too much so he's fresh when the season starts?
Like you said, JT, there has been, in my opinion, I think there's been a little bit of disrespect, but it's not from a sense of disrespecting their game. It's unfamiliarity, because you have Zamir White, who is a guy who's been a backup his career. He had to back up Josh Jacobs. And then even Madison coming in, he had to back up Dalvin Cook for as many years as he did. He didn't become the guy in Minnesota until last year. So you have two guys that a lot of casual NFL fans are very unfamiliar with, but they can ball. And if you put on the tape, you can see that they can ball in very different ways. And Zamir, what I love about Zamir is it's crazy how obviously Josh Jacobs is one of one and he's going to be tough to duplicate. But when you look at Zamir's game and you really study it, you know, there's very minute differences, but they have the very same play style where they like to initiate contact, they like to run people over, and then even though they have that big body physicality to them, they still have getaway speed. You know, if they get off the line of scrimmage and they beat a hole, you know, they're going to take it up a good chump change of yards. So I really like his game.
One last one, because we have respect for the former coaches, former GMs. You've seen a few now here. What's one thing that you notice different when you walk out onto that practice field? Is it lighter? Is it louder? Is it more relaxed? What's something that the fans would like to know that you get a chance to see almost every day?
I know this is extremely random.
Here we go.
This is going to be a very random tidbit that I've noticed just in terms of the lightness of the mood. And it's competitive. They're, they're professional athletes. Something that I noticed is with former regimes, it would be, you have a little bit of music playing during the stretch period. And then the rest of the practice, it's very quiet. It's very, orderly, just kind of like we're here for work. And something that I've noticed now is that they have music playing the entire practice.
Okay.
And I don't know who's on the aux or how that's working out, but I've noticed that they have music playing the whole practice. And you can tell that the guys feed off of that. So just small things like that in terms of player empowerment and just being able to enjoy themselves while they're out there, whether they're listening to rap or classic rock or country or whatever, you notice that, they get a little hype to the music, especially in those 7-on-7 drills and the team period.
Need that.
They need that.
They're young guys in their early 20s. They want to listen to music. They want to have fun. They want to get through the heat and all that.
So that's something that I've noticed. Antonio, he definitely he has the NFL. He's an NFL coach trying to get NFL structure in the team, but at the same time, he still has a college vibe to him. He still, is coaching the team with a college atmosphere of let's not take things too seriously. Let's have fun. Let's remember we love this game of football, and it's very common amongst the building.
We will see you Monday for Media Day.
You sure will. Thank you.
Thank you. That's Levi Edwards. If you're on a YouTube stream, we're going to wrap it up right now. We're going to get out of YouTube. I'm going to bring in Thayer Munford. That's the Raiders property. They'll probably record that. We'll have it up for podcast form. And we'll talk to him at right tackle, the competition, playing with Max Crosby, competing against him every day, and his goals going forward. JT live from Raiders headquarters as we continue on the flagship of the Silver and Black, brought to you by Resorts World. Let me just say goodbye to these friends. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you so much. You were all great. Appreciate it. Thank you. All right. Yes. So how you doing? Everything good?